Now then everybody, my name is Brian, and in today's video we're going to be discussing Fortnite's new S&D mode Ballistic and what I feel they need to add, change or improve in order to make it competitive with other arcade style shooters. Stick around, we're going to go into a bit of a deep dive on this one. Hope you enjoy it.
Now you listen here, he's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy.
So first of all, I feel we need to discuss Fortnite's roots. Ignoring Save the World, Fortnite, although not the first, were very early to the party with a battle royale, so competition was thin on the ground for them, which naturally gave them a head start. Fortnite did it the other way around from a lot of studios. They did the BR, and now they're trying to get into tactical shooters, where there is a lot of competition. So this isn't going to be an easy nut for them to crack. Let's discuss what I believe Fortnite need to address in order to bring a sledgehammer to a nut-cracking party. I'm going to say what I think is most important to a last, just because I'm going to go quite in depth on that. But other than that, these are in no particular order. I also want to note that although I started out gaming on Fortnite, I'm an ex-Call of Duty player. For this, I apologise. But what that means is a lot of my comparisons and analogies are going to come from COD. But I would like to emphasise that I do appreciate that this isn't COD and I don't want it to turn into COD. I'm moving back to Fortnite because I enjoy Fortnite. The first thing I'm going to address is the plant defuse rotations. Currently, you spawn in, and let's say you've spawned in as an attacker. You will now be attacking for 6 rounds before you switch to defense. I think that the sides should switch each round, or every other round, so every 2 rounds. So you'd plant twice, defuse twice, plant twice, etc. And I honestly have sound reasoning for this, and that is something called map bias. Map bias is basically where the map is better suited to either the plant or defuse team, or in CS, the terrorist or counter-terrorist team. So for Skyline 10, currently ballistics only map, in my opinion, the map bias goes towards defense. So the map is basically working against the attackers. Which means that if you are planting, it's harder for you to get to the plant sites, plant the device, and defend it without being eliminated throughout that whole process. So if you start on the attack side, there's a higher chance you're going to lose 6 rounds in a row, which is depressing and could put less experienced players off the game. Introducing a switch every other round helps balance that, but also players to get used to play styles of both the enemy and their own team and adapt their play styles to suit. Number 2 on my list is making it so that you can fall off the edge of the map, or go outside of the edge of the map, and before you start raging, hear me out. This does 2 things. The first thing is, if you introduce an out of bound function, a skill gap will occur, where higher skill players will discover out of bounds routes that can be used to wrap or flank the map and other players. It introduces another dynamic to the game. The out of bounds function would obviously need to be timed so that if the player doesn't return to the play zone within a handful of seconds, they die. The second thing it does is make the impulse grenade more viable. I get that the impulse grenade has a function for making a rotation against the enemy that isn't expected, but being able to use the impulse grenade to knock players out of the map would be a huge win and make the impulse grenade a much more viable choice for a gadget. I understand the reason for making it so that if you try to jump out of the map you can't, but I think the pros of being able to leave the map outweigh the cons. Next is a camo challenge. Not the end of the world not having one, but I like a camo challenge. I know a lot of tactical shooter players do like a camo challenge. I think it would be good to reward players with camos that they earn from playing Ballistic. I certainly don't think it would do any harm to have this in the game. Number 3, perks. And I can see this one being quite controversial, but I think it would be awesome for players to be able to choose one perk at the beginning of the match, just like they do with the gadget. I know some people are probably thinking, well, aren't the gadgets just perks? But I don't think so. When I say perks, I mean things relating to your character. Some examples of this are covert sneakers in Modern Warfare 3, which was a personal favourite of mine. This made your footsteps silent. Now that was OP, but if we had a perk that would make you a bit quieter, I'd like that. Another is Overkill, the ability to carry 2 secondary weapons. I've seen a lot of people saying this should be in the game, so why not add it in as a perk? Or Scavenger, where you automatically gain one of your gadgets or tactical equipment when you run through a player you just eliminated. You could even make it so that you can see what perks the enemies have on the UI at the top of the screen, just like you can see the gadgets. Perks are just something that I feel would help people make the game suit their play styles more. Speaking of perks, one of the perks you can gain right now is smashing that subscribe button so you can get notified when I upload. Whilst you're at it, ring that bell, smash the like button and leave a comment. It really helps the channel and is very much appreciated. Now, Let's discuss the scoreboard and how you can't see it if you've been eliminated. I can't believe this wasn't sorted before the release of the game. It's especially important in ranked, so you can see how you're doing and decide if you need to change your playstyle at all. Another thing I can't believe they did in this game is make the plant button on Xbox controller Y and the defuse button X. Why would you do this? It's so stupid. Why not just make both plant and defuse Y? Now, if I've eliminated a player who's just planted the bomb and I go to defuse the bomb by pressing X, I instead pick up their weapon because it shares the same keybind as pickup. Why would you not just make it Y? Y to plant the bomb, Y to defuse. It's just logical. There's nothing more annoying than being short on time to defuse and losing because you picked up the enemy's weapon rather than defuse the rift. It's so stupid. Anyway, number 6. A kill cam. It's just nice to be able to see your death from the enemy's perspective. That way, if you think it was sus, you can watch the kill cam, see if they're tracking you through walls or locking onto you a bit too much. You get the drift. And last, but by no means least, movement. I know, the COD movement whore has mentioned movement, and I'll admit, in COD I was a movement sweat. My movement was pretty bloody tasty. My aim was shite, which is why I played hardcore, but my movement was nice. But that's not why I'm mentioning movement. First, attacking movement. I just wish the bloom wasn't so big whilst moving. What that means is the area that your bullets spread when shooting. Tighten that up a bit and I'm happy. Next is defensive movement, and this is where big changes need to be made. I'm currently plat 2 in ranked, which although isn't obscene, translates to me being in the top 2% worldwide. And when you get into these sorts of numbers, every millisecond counts. This is why I'm about to mention server latency, and not the latency of your internet, but the latency or tick rate of Fortnite's own servers. You see, Fortnite runs a 30Hz server, which for their BR mode isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not terrible, especially for the movement Fortnite has, and especially compared to Warzone's pathetic 20Hz servers and the insane movement that game has. But when it comes to FPS tacticals, 30Hz is pretty shoddy. Now let's just briefly discuss what the server tick rate of 30Hz means. Basically, it means that Fortnite's server is receiving your input information, so what you're doing in the game, calculating that and inputting it, and then sending it to the other players and vice versa 30 times a second. That might sound a lot, but that means you're only receiving information once every 33 milliseconds, which is why you've probably experienced being killed by an enemy after running away from them around a corner. That's because of the latency issue. The information that you've gone around that corner hasn't yet been received by the enemy player, so they can still see you. This is a fundamental issue, and not one particularly faced by Counter-Strike, because they have 64Hz public servers, and even 128Hz third-party servers. So that game info is being updated every 15 milliseconds. For Fortnite to be competitive with the big leagues such as Counter-Strike, they need a faster tick rate on their servers to stop that feeling of being killed from around corners. Anyway, that does it for this video. Let me know if there's anything you think needs changing in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please consider smashing that subscribe button and like button and sharing with a friend. It really does help the channel. Until the next one, cheers for now.
Now you listen here. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.